Welcome back to another episode of All Things Everything presented by Gulf Coast Smoke. My name is Alonzo.
And I'm Sabrina.
And this is episode 21. Today we're going to talk about a few different things. We're going to just get right into how our weekend went, which thankfully it went pretty good. We competed in a IBCA competition in Refugio, Texas. This is our second IBCA of the year. Actually, we've only done IBCAs this year. Upcoming this weekend, we'll do a CBA event in, where's that again? Oh, in Mercedes, Texas. It's called Smoking on the Rio. It's supposed to be a very large event. And then next weekend, we'll do CBA World Championships. So we have two coming up, but why don't you talk a little bit about how our weekend went?
So when we got there on Friday, weather was decent. Weather was nice. I think the forecast had called for some rain early in the morning. But, no, I think it was kind of like misting when we got there, right? A little bit. But then it was like clear the rest of the night. There was some rain in the forecast. But when we got up around 4:30 on Saturday morning.
I couldn't sleep. I don't know what it was.
Yeah, we got up at 4:30. And we went outside. We start setting things up. We seasoned brisket. It was a quiet morning. The sky looked clear.
Yeah.
If it had rained during the night, I didn't hear it.
Sure.
You know? So all of a sudden, I mean, and this was before, normally we put on brisket like anywhere from 5:30, between 5:30 to 6, right? It was before 5:30 for sure. And all of a sudden, just gusts of wind started coming through. So our lighting started getting knocked over. Things started knocking over.
Didn't our lighting break?
Yeah, well, I've got it like
rigged up a little bit.
Up over here.
Yeah.
So that it'll still work. But yeah, I mean, things started falling over, and then the rain started coming. And then all of a sudden, our canopy, which we have tied down to the trailer, we have weights on it. We normally secure it pretty good.
Yeah, it was a little bit harder this weekend, though, because where we were set up, there was like asphalt under the grass. So we were trying to get stakes into the ground, and it just wasn't working for us. But we had it tied down. We did have weights on every single leg, but it just didn't hold up.
Yeah, so at one point, I mean, so we had a, what would you call it, like a double canopy? I mean, it's got...
Yeah, it's a 20 by 10.
Right. So it's almost if you had two of them put together, right? So it's a pretty big thing. So the middle posts started flying up.
Yep.
So, I grabbed that leg. Carl was next to us. He came over and helped grab a leg too. And we were kind of just trying to hold it down. And then what happened to you?
Yeah, so I mean, we're all basically holding a part down of the canopy, and I think at one point, you're obviously thin, right? You don't weigh a lot, so I think at one point, I literally almost saw you putting your whole weight on the leg. And so basically, we have 6 legs on our canopy. So there's a frame in between each leg, and I'm holding down the leg that you and Carl are not holding. And the frame, a huge gust of wind comes in, and the frame basically bends in. It snapped pretty much, and it hit me right across the face right here. So it hit me on the corner of my glasses. My glasses flew off 5-7 feet. I couldn't even see them for a little bit, but I wasn't focused on that. I just needed to hold down the canopy, and it felt like somebody punched me in the face. I stumbled backwards, and for a second there I was like, what just happened? And then I realized the canopy, obviously it kind of bent, the frame bent, and still right now it's kind of messed up. I don't really know if we're going to be able to use it anymore, because even trying to get it back into the bag was very, very hard. But either way, it hit me right here. My glasses flew off, and after about 15 minutes after the adrenaline went down, I was like, oh, dude, this hurts bad. Yeah. And I took a picture, or you took a picture of me, and you can see a mark right across my face where it was red, where it hit me from the forehead all the way down across my cheek. And we didn't get a picture of it at its worst, but it was definitely there for a couple of days. And it's kind of, I don't even know. Can you still see anything there?
I feel like I could still see a little bit
of a line
here. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was a crazy start to the morning. And at that point, I'm pretty sure we did already put on the brisket, if I'm not mistaken. Or I think at one point when the wind went down a little bit, I was just like, let me just throw this thing on.
Yeah, well, so what happened is we ended up lowering that whole side of the canopy. So we lowered the legs.
Mm-hmm. So imagine the canopy is basically, instead of like this, right? If you're watching on YouTube, the canopy is not flat, right? The frame is like this,
right?
Because we lowered those legs on this side closest to my elbow down. So basically all the wind is hitting it, like straight on, because it was a north wind. And yeah, it was just...
Well, and I think that helped out because then, the rain was mostly hitting, that side. So we still had the brisket on the tabletop at that point. So luckily that was protecting the brisket from any of the rain because we'd already seasoned it, right?
Mm-hmm. So we were getting scared that the brisket was going to fly away.
Oh,
so we were like, all right, let's just throw this thing on.
Yeah, because it's on one of those disposable cutting boards, and there's nothing holding that cutting board down besides the brisket. So all it takes is air to go in between that board and the table, and that thing was going to fly off.
Sure.
So finally, once we got because it took a little bit longer to get the drum up to temp because of the weather.
Yeah.
So once we got that on, it was probably closer to 6 when we actually got the brisket on.
It was pretty much right at 6, because I believe it was actually 5:52 because we were
5:50 we were doing. Yeah.
We were timing our 30-minute spins and
Right.
But it just a crazy start to the morning. Thankfully, and it rained for hours. It was like 2 whole hours.
And we really needed that canopy because the kids were asleep inside, so we had nowhere else to prep besides outside. And so, I think we got pretty lucky that the whole thing didn't just, cave in on itself.
Yeah, no doubt. And it was really hard because, again, it was raining for a few hours.
Yeah.
And we actually I had to season ribs. So, obviously, the lighting wasn't working. Well, the lighting was working, but it wasn't working out for us because of the wind and everything. We didn't want to break it. Sabrina already told me, I think the lighting's broken. So we were like, okay, put it away. We're not going to lose our equipment. We spend money on this stuff. We had to try and protect it.
Yeah.
So I'm seasoning ribs in the morning with virtually no light. I'm using my cell phone light to try and season ribs.
Yeah.
And that's just not, that's not the way I want to do it. So I'm positive I over-seasoned ribs this time because once I kind of saw them, eventually I was like, man, that's a lot of seasoning. I don't like to put too much seasoning on my ribs. I like a natural pork color with a little bit of hospitality to bring out that nice red, black pepper, bell, base, but I don't like to over-season, and that's kind of something that I've been doing the past maybe 6-8 events. I don't know. I've been seasoning a lot less. And our ribs were a little bit darker this weekend than normal, but overall, obviously, the ribs turned out really good, and it didn't hurt us at all.
Well, and also you had to kind of re-season some of them because the water was pooling on the canopy, the fabric, so it was dripping down.
Through, and it was actually. Right. I was looking at the ribs. I was like, why are there spots all over the ribs with no seasoning? And it was the rain that was hitting the ribs, and it was just making a huge hole.
Right, just washing it off.
It was just washing the seasoning off completely. So it was just a very tough morning. Mm-hmm. At one point, I 100% did not want to be there, and I regretted going to the event. 100%. I was like, this is stupid. I don't want to be here. I'm not having fun. I should be at home. We should be in bed. Coming off of a long night of movies and popcorn and fun with the kids. And, it just, I don't know.
Well, and it's crazy. We're all out. Multiple people are all out there having the same issues, right, with their canopies. We're out there holding the frame down for like 15 minutes straight while there's lightning.
Yeah.
That's probably the dumbest thing to do.
The lightning and the thunder was crazy.
It was loud.
Felt like it was right next to us. It was just a major storm. But we did ask some people on Facebook what their worst canopy stories were at barbecue events, which we're going to come back to in a little bit. But so we talked about the morning. Obviously, it rained for a few hours. We ended up getting the cook going, brisket on, ribs on, put a half chicken on, and the cook overall for us this past weekend, I would say it went pretty good. I would say it went without any hiccups. We gave ourselves a few hours for our bird. Timing was perfect. We were able to rest it for just a few minutes, sauce it, put it in the box. We tasted it. We liked the texture. We liked the flavor. The sauce tasted great. And then, of course, like I said a second ago, our ribs, even though they were darker than I wanted them to be a lot lighter. Man, they were spot on. They were just delicious. There's just no other way to say it. We tasted it and we're like, okay, that's our rib. That's the way we normally make ribs. Hopefully, we get a good call. And our brisket, the only concern I had with it was that little dip in the front part of it, but we weren't using slices from that area, so it wasn't a huge deal. And I think the brisket obviously tasted spot on as well. If you guys haven't watched the video, we did put a video out of this competition that we're actually talking about right now on Tuesday. So we'll put a link in the description. Actually, we'll put a little link up here in the video so you guys can click it and watch it right now, just so you can kind of see. There is some footage, not a lot of footage, but there's some footage of the storm in the morning. Obviously, there's some footage of the way that the ribs look on the Race Crew drum smokers, and you can see that they're a little bit more seasoned than normal, especially for my liking. You guys do it however you want to do, but it was a little bit more seasoned than I wanted. I felt like they were dark in the end. But come time for awards, how did that go?
We felt pretty, good about all of our turn-ins that day. Ribs, like you said, were spot on. They're the same ribs we pretty much always put out. Same thing with brisket. I thought it was a very, very good brisket. No issues there.
The thing I loved about that brisket is it was an $88 IBP Prime from HEB.
Yeah.
And that's a great, don't be afraid to cook a prime brisket. I feel like it's a great value for what you're paying. And if you hit, it pays.
Well, go look back at that video if you have, or if you haven't watched it. Go look back at when you were slicing the brisket. Because the second you laid those slices down, you could see the moisture on them. We didn't do anything to it at that point.
Yeah, it was just
slicing. Right. And there was so much moisture on it.
Yeah.
So, a prime is going to do just fine in a competition.
I 100% agree.
Yeah.
And so back to awards. Obviously, everything went pretty good for us.
Right. Well, and chicken was the one thing that, we're not consistent with. So you always go in a little bit, not worried, but you don't know what to think when it comes to the chicken, right? But we felt like we cooked the half chicken the way we wanted. The texture was good. The flavor was good. So it's kind of just up in the air at that point, right?
For sure.
And so when chicken was being called, we got a third place call.
Mm-hmm.
And I think at that point, we knew, okay, well, there's a really good chance here because that's our weakest link, so to speak.
For sure.
So if we did well there, then, hopefully the results are good overall.
No doubt.
So, we're for third place chicken, that's the best we've done in quite a while.
Yeah, that's the best we've done in a while. Our most recent good chicken call besides that was 6th place in Hempstead, and we ran thighs.
Right.
So other than that, we got a 9th place in Needville when we GC'd there. I think we got an 11th in Aransas when we GC'd there. But yeah, overall to get a 3rd place chicken was a great feeling, and I agree with you. Once we hit a 3rd place chicken, I really thought, okay, let's rock and roll. Let's see what's going to happen here. So then moving on to ribs, obviously we were really happy with our ribs. But the thing about barbecue competitions, when you go to a barbecue competition, even if you're feeling really strong about your turn-in, they call top 10, sometimes they call top 15. You hear all those numbers. So IBCA, obviously, they call it your number. You have a number on a card, they'll call that out. You hear 9 go by, you do not think you're first. Even though we knew our ribs were banging, and they were. They were delicious. So I just knew they were really good. And, my dad, he's been with us so many competitions. I can trust his judgment on our food now. Not that I couldn't before. I don't know why I say now, but I trust my dad's judgment to the max because he's tasted our food so much. He'll know, oh, something's a little off there. Yeah, it feels like normally it needs to be a little bit sweeter. But back to the results. 9 numbers go by, and we're like, oh my gosh, we hit on ribs, or we didn't hit on ribs, and we hit on chicken. Like, man, we just lost our opportunity to win this thing. And then they called our number for a first place rib, which it's a great feeling. It's a really good feeling. So our ribs have been doing very well for us. the past 3 events, they've been first, third, first. Going back to last season, we had a fourth place, was it a fourth or a third place finish in Ingleside?
I think it was fourth.
Fourth in Ingleside. We had multiple first place ribs last year, and, we keep it very simple on our ribs. We truly do. We show you everything we do for our ribs in our videos. Mm-hmm. We show you guys everything. I mean, as the only thing that I could actually give you is realistically the exact injection recipe, which, I mean, you guys need to find your own, I guess, in a way. It's one of those things where I think that when you start to become good at competition barbecue is when you learn your recipe and you actually kind of find a recipe and make it your own, really. Mm-hmm. And so with our recipe, we've tweaked it plenty of times until we finally got to one where we really enjoyed it. But I'll tell you what, if you're not using LC Boss Hog, try it out. That's all I'm saying. Try it out. If you're not using some sort of vegetable or chicken broth in your injection, try it out. Help you guys as much as I possibly can. The ribs are on fire. Season with that base overnight. Hit it over top with Southern Belle, Southern Hospitality, and black pepper. That's all we do. We don't do anything crazy. We use our blends on everything. So it's just,
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of the times in our videos, maybe if something wasn't filmed for that particular video, go back and I guarantee the whole process of our ribs has been shown before. And kind of like 100%. You said, I mean, all you have to do is pick an injection recipe and go with it. You can enhance it, like you said, with like LC's products or using some sort of broth instead of water. Yes. And then I think a lot of it is technique. I mean, we show you how we do our wrap process, the sauces, the butter, and all that stuff. But a lot of it is the technique. I think figuring out a good trim for your ribs, figuring out how to get that texture you want for your ribs.
For sure.
And then also slicing it, the finishing process. And I think in that video, you gave very good tips on how to slice crooked ribs. Mm-hmm. That's something we come across a lot of the times because we'll find really nicely marbled ribs, but the bones are really crooked, right? And I think...
But you can absolutely use them.
Yeah. Oh, you showed it perfectly, how to go through and cut those so that you're not having to cut at an angle like parallel to the bones. Mm-hmm. You can cut in a way that's going to give you straight ribs. So I think that if you're having trouble with your presentation of your ribs, definitely check out that video. I thought there was a lot of great information in that portion of the video. But yeah, I mean, if you're struggling in ribs, watch what we do with our ribs and try and take something from that. And all we're doing is just being consistent. We're doing the same thing
over and over.
And it's showing in our results.
Absolutely. And the one thing that I'll say is we absolutely would love for everybody in the world to try our products. If you guys have products that you love, run with them. Absolutely run with them. There's a lot of great products out there. And we've said it before, ours are great, but we're not the best. We don't want to be the best. We just want to be there with the best. We want to be at the same table. We don't want to put it out there that we're the best. So if you guys have flavor profiles that you really enjoy, man, try them out. See what you can do with them. If they're not hitting, try something different. I mean, but don't try and change after one event.
Right.
Definitely go to 3 or 4 and then, okay, hey, these seasonings are not hitting. Let me try something different. Eventually, maybe come along to ours and give us a shot. But I'm telling you, you're going to get great color. You're going to get great flavor from our seasonings. And I really, truly think that obviously our injection, it bangs. There's some stuff in there that it absolutely is a delicious injection. And, our wrap, I show you guys our wrap. I don't know if people are wrapping exactly the same as us. We put Blues Hog Original. We put Killer Hogs Vinegar Sauce in the wrap. We put more of our injection liquid in the wrap with some butter. I mean, try it out. I don't know if people are using a lot of barbecue sauce and stuff in their wraps. I'm sure they are. But yeah, I mean, it's just try it out. Just try it out. Consistency is key in my opinion. Like you said, we've even had to catch ourselves before and say, man, I wasn't putting sugar in the raw on the bottom too.
Right.
I was only putting it on top. Why did I start putting it on the bottom? Mm-hmm. And Mark Williams said it great one time when he was on our podcast. Sometimes y'all, we're winning, but let me do this just so they're a little bit better. And they're winning, leave them alone.
Right.
For sure, leave them alone. But and don't even get it twisted. We've been on a tear with ribs before, and then it's fallen off.
Right.
Did we change our recipe?
No, we stuck with it.
We stuck with it, and now, thankfully, they're doing good again.
Right.
So I'm not saying that your recipe, you don't want to have multiple or you don't want to change or anything like that, but just give it time. There's peaks and there's valleys, and, you might not always be hitting on them, but your time will come if you consistently cook that rib. The biggest thing is going to be nailing your tenderness for where you're cooking.
Right.
So the ribs that we put out for IBCA and CBA will not work for KCBS. We will get destroyed. They are as far as you can go without them being mush. Literally. We went 30 more minutes on them. They are mushy. They're probably mushy. But, man, they stay on the bone. They taste delicious, and they are very, very tender. I do want to go back to chicken for just a second because shout out to my buddy Kevin. His chicken was banging this past weekend. When we took a bite of it, we was like, oh, man, that's some good chicken.
Yep.
And so we walked third chicken, and I'm walking back to go sit back down, and they're calling second place chicken, blah, blah, blah. They say the numbers, and it's Kevin. And I literally walked up to him, and I was like, you son of a gun. And at that point, I thought it was on between us and Kevin.
Right.
Because I did taste his ribs, and they were very good. He just, I guess he hit a bad table or whatever, but I thought his ribs were good. I think they ended up like 14th or something like that, or 13th. I don't think they were that bad, but, it is what it is. It just worked out how it did. So anyway, I know we talked a little bit more about ribs than normal, but I did want to talk about it just because we did really focus on them in the video. And I did show you guys some stuff that, man, sometimes I'm like, I don't even know if I should be talking about this, but we have gotten so many messages. We've gotten so many comments on, man, I love watching your videos. I've learned so much. I'm a new up-and-comer. I've learned so much. Thank you so much for the tips. Man, that's exactly what we're here for. We, again, are not the best cooks in the world. We're not going to pretend to be. Man, there's a lot of people out there that can whoop our butts this weekend. But we do think that we've, come into our own, and we're really comfortable with cooking. And if there's anything we can do for you guys, we're absolutely going to do it. So if there's anything specifically you want to see, for sure let us know in the comments. Send us a message, all that good stuff, and we're here for you guys.
Right. And so moving along to brisket,
Mm-hmm.
We're feeling pretty good at that point. We've got a third, we've got a first, and, we know as long as we get called, within the top 4 or 5, that we're probably good, right?
Sure.
And that's the stressful part, right? Kind of like you said in the beginning is, you don't want to hear your name called like 10th
too early.
Yeah, like 10th through 5th. You don't want to hear your name called, but then it gets to like 4th and 3rd, and you're not called, and you're like, oh man, I'd just like to be called right now, right? But we got that second place brisket, which I wasn't surprised. I thought it was a really, really good brisket. Like I said, you could see the moisture on those slices, only to be enhanced by our finishing process. And I thought, and it's been a long time since we've done a brisket with the point and the flat still attached. So we had some really nice slices, I thought. It was just tender. It was really good.
Yeah, it was a great brisket. I had zero complaints with it. We turned in the slices like you said. So it was obviously the flat on top. There was a little fat seam and then a little bit of the point on bottom. And we just decided to go with it. It did not look as good as some of our other boxes. We both know that. But we really felt strongly about turning in the slices with the little bit of point on the bottom. And it worked out for us. And I do want to also talk about brisket for just a little bit, because every single time I post our brisket pictures on Facebook, have you seen the engagement that they get?
Oh, yeah, because there's a lot of people who love it, and then there's, those people who, they want to jump in and attack it.
So I'm just going to scroll through Facebook real quick. I'm going to go back to our brisket picture that I posted on Saturday, and it looks like there is 180 comments, 6 shares, and 1.4K reactions. So that means either likes, loves, wows, laughs, cares, sad, all that stuff. And it is crazy to me that we get that much engagement with our posts. And I think the reason is because so many people don't like to see the brisket that way. They don't like to see it that way. So if you don't like to see the brisket that way, that's where I kind of go back and invite you to watch the video. When we sliced it, it looks like a regular standard brisket. We obviously choose to add au jus on top of the brisket. Everybody thinks we're just saucing the slice, and that's just not the case. So with our au jus, what we do is we get it extremely hot, and we're brushing it consistently onto the slice of brisket. And what we're actually kind of doing is like basting the brisket rather than brushing it. And it's almost soaking up the au jus that came out of the brisket wrap. So it's like the natural flavors that are coming out of the brisket. There is a little bit of butter in there. There's some beef broth. There's some water, some moisture. So we're not adding anything back to the slice that's crazy. I understand that the color looks, it's like red and shimmery and all that stuff. I think, I couldn't even tell you. I think a lot of that comes from the butter that we use. If you go to that video and you watch when I pour the liquid wrap into the brisket, it's like golden.
Right, it's settled at the top.
It's because of our butter. And so we do separate that. So it's basically like clarified butter with all of our injection and beef broth and all that stuff. But man, we're realistically trying to keep the slices as hot as we can because we do not know when they're going to eat the brisket. We've talked about this before, but it's just one of those things. Watch the videos. You'll see when we slice that brisket, it doesn't always look like that. Yes, we are making the decision to put that au jus on it. And yes, there's barbecue sauce on the top, but man, it just rounds it out. It's a really beefy piece of meat with a light, sweet flavor. And man, it's just, it's good. It is.
It is.
I used to think the same thing you guys are thinking. That is trash. Who would sauce a brisket? That looks dumb. Kale in the box. Wow, that's not real barbecue. Man, it's just a game. That's all it is. It's a game. And thankfully, this past weekend, we won the game. So after a third chicken, a first rib, and a second brisket, we ended up GCing the contest. And we shared the stage with Randall Kendrick, which is just such a great human. I couldn't have been happier to share with him. Obviously, there's other people that I hope to share that stage with one day. And Randall was one of them, man. So I'm glad we got to check that one off. I still want to share it with Phil. I want to share it with Chicken Fried. I want to share it with Reenie, with Kevin, with Zach, with Raul. There's a lot of guys that I want to, and I'll take the RGC. I'll take it. I want to share it with some of my friends that I've met through barbecue, and hopefully those days are coming. But it was just a great event. We thankfully had a good show out, and yeah, I mean, it feels good. That's our third GC. 3 GCs, 2 RGCs. Man, I couldn't be happier, and I'll say this, I feel extremely humbled because I really do think that even through the success of competition barbecue, man, you just can't really let it get to your head. At the end of the day, this is the truth. It's barbecue. All you're doing is cooking barbecue. And I'm grateful that we're able to cook, and I'm grateful that we're able to do something that allows our family to come together. But man, it is just barbecue. So find your way. If you're going to say something, I'm sorry, I'll let you talk in a sec. But find your way to show your passion in life, right? Like glorify God through your own ways. And this is something I was telling Sabrina. And again, a lot of the things that I start to talk about, I never really think I'm going to talk about. But you know me, I just talk and then I don't stop talking. But man, when we were at awards, I literally have had so many moments in my life where I've asked Sabrina, man, is this really what we're supposed to be doing? Are we truly supposed to be making barbecue videos? Are we supposed to be having a podcast? Are we supposed to be competing? Like, is this really our calling in life? And I've had that question so many times. You know, I've wanted to give up before. You didn't let me. You know, you talked to me and basically said, hey, we're going to get past this. Don't worry about it. So I thank you for that. But man, I literally sat there and I asked him, I said, hey, give me a sign. Is this really what I'm supposed to be doing in life? And I told you the other day, and then I realized I'm praying for a win, which is no, that's not what I'm going to do. I'm not going to pray for a win here. Instead, I'm going to continue to pray, and I'm just going to tell him, hey, I trust in your timing no matter what it is. I'm here for the long haul. I'm here for this. I do know that this is what I'm supposed to do. I do know that with my wife by my side, we can do anything we want. If we wanted to switch right now and change our channel to golf, I know we could make it. If we wanted to switch it to Pokemon, I know we could make it. If we wanted to switch it to being everyday parents, I know we could make it, because we're trying to find ways to glorify him, and we're just doing things at the highest level we possibly can. We can. We're not the best at this, but man, I just love getting into it with you guys, not in a bad way. I love getting into it with you guys. Anybody that's listening, it's like, man, this is just such a powerful feeling. It's such a powerful feeling knowing, hey, I am supposed to do this. It doesn't matter if we get dead last this weekend to me, because what we're doing, it means something. Like I said, there's been so many people that have said, hey man, thanks for your videos. They've really helped me. That's what we want. That's exactly what we want. Shout out to Chance and Danielle for being there. Just such wonderful friends, for fighting through nastiness, trying to get through the mud. And Chance had some issues with the trains and he got there a little bit late. But man, thank you for being there. They have no idea how much it means to me that they're there for us. And they've been there for us even when we're getting our butts whipped. Thankfully now we're doing okay. But I'm telling you, we could get dead last this weekend and I will be okay, because I know that we're here for the long haul. All right, this isn't going to be overnight success. I don't want overnight success. I want to continue to work at it with you. And man, I know we just won a barbecue competition, but after the event, I can't remember if it was Kevin or somebody asked me, like, man, how did it feel? You won, champ. I'm like, man, it feels great. But this isn't it. This isn't all that it's, I don't want to say supposed to be, but this isn't all we're supposed to do. We have to do so much more with this win. We need to turn it into something else. We need to continue marketing, continue doing our thing, and we just got to continue growing. So anyway, like I said, sorry I do this a lot. I know I do this a lot. And that's exactly why a podcast for me, whether 100 million of you guys listen or 100 or 10, it's the perfect place for me to just be who I am. And it's really, honestly, it feels really good to just talk about it out loud. And it's really easy for me because, again, I'm just sitting here talking with my wife. But anyway, thank you for everybody that listens to me. Just get into it with myself all the time. And obviously, thanks to my wife for helping out. The thing about the barbecue contests is she helps out a lot, like tremendously. You guys don't understand. Yes, I physically put the meat on the barbecue pit, but I'm talking all the things she does in the background that you guys don't see. She warms up sauce. Hey, Sabrina, it's time for us to do this. Okay, hey, I'm going to get sauce warm. Hey, Sabrina, I need you to get that au jus hot. Okay, cool. She's in the background doing that. In between, she's obviously trying to help our kids, because one of us does have to stay with the pits at all time. So it's always me. She's running the kids back and forth. Somehow our kids drink 50,000 waters at barbecue contests, and they have to use the restroom every 5 minutes. So Sabrina's taking care of that. She's obviously also filming too. So she does a lot. This win is not mine. It is ours. And I'm grateful that she helps me out. But anyway, I don't know what you were going to say earlier. You probably don't even remember what you were going to say earlier. Sorry. It's 40 minutes almost into the podcast and I've just been talking. So sorry.
Well, I do want to go back and say, I know you mentioned Chance and Danielle.
Yep.
And one thing I would like to say about them, it's really cool because, we're not very verbal or I don't even know what the word is, or animated when it comes to anytime we get a win, especially because, one, I'm filming. And so I'm trying to make sure I'm concentrating on getting a shot. So I'm usually not like yelling, clapping, anything like that. So it's not that we have to do that or need that kind of reaction, but I love that they are just always so genuinely happy for us. They're cheering us on. I mean, you can see it in the video. I mean, they're like our hype guys.
Yeah, no, seriously.
And it that means a lot to us. And
for sure.
I mean, they're excited. The kids are getting excited, and it feels really good to have their support
system.
For sure. I mean, they're out there. Our feet were wet pretty much all day long till the second that we left, and then they're coming. They're having to get their feet wet, even though it turned out to be beautiful weather for the rest of the day.
Yeah, it did, actually.
Yeah, but I mean, they're there sitting through it with us, and I mean when they don't have to be. And
yeah,
it really
they
means
want
a lot to
they
us.
want to be,
right?
Which is the crazy thing. Chance always texts me all the time, and I don't know if I should even say this. You know what? I won't. But anyway, it's nothing negative. But he just tells me, "Hey, I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready." So you interpret that the way you want to. It's nothing negative. But he literally always texts me like, "Hey, bro, I'm ready. I'm proud of you." He will watch our subscriber count and he'll text me like, "Hey, 34.6, 34.5, 34.4," and he watches it on his own. When me, these days I try not to look at those numbers, right? So obviously I'm still all over social media all the time, which we need to work on me not being on social media so much. But either way, I actually never look at our subscriber count because that to me is like, that can get a little addicting. Don't want to look at that. So, but Chance does because Chance cares and he wants us to grow. So at this very moment, and I'll pop it open, we are at 34,681. So we're closer and closer to 35,000. Then we're 15,000 away from 50 G's. And that's what I really want. I want to see that 50. So if you guys aren't subscribed to the channel, go ahead and subscribe right now. We would appreciate it. It is 100% free and it does support us really, really to the max, really well. I don't know what I was going to say, but it does tremendously. It supports us. So hopefully you guys, again, are enjoying the content we put out. And was there anything you wanted to say about the GC? Shout out Chance and Danielle. We love you so much. Thanks for being there. And again, thank you for being our hype man. And also, shout out to Kevin, because if you look at that video, he actually got up and started. And it's not, it has nothing to do with being overly cocky or overly confident, but everybody knew after the second place brisket that we won. And Kevin knew, and he was ready with his camera. You can see it in the video behind me. He stood up, he started recording on his own phone to try and capture footage of us getting the GC, because Kevin and I have talked about this. There's never a moment when you want to lose. There's never a moment. But if one of your good friends wins, man, you support them. Mm-hmm. And you show genuine and true love. And I think that that's super important. It's obviously during awards and stuff, we're all kind of caught up, and especially us kind of being in the race, it's a little bit different for us because we're really laser focused on what's happening and who's getting the calls and, oh, we got to beat them now, or, oh, they're in first place now. But it means a lot to me, and I know it does to you, that Kevin is one of the best cooks in Texas right now, is literally up there taking footage of our GC for us and just being there and happy, and calls me afterwards and, man, how does it feel, champ? You finally got me. You finally got me once. And that's the first time that we've won an event with Kevin there. And, hopefully we can battle it out plenty more times because he's a great cook. His brisket was delicious. I was a little worried when I tasted his brisket because I did think it was great. The thing I liked about, well, I'm not going to say what I liked about it because I don't want to give his flavor profiles away, but Kevin's brisket was very, very spot on, and I was a little bit worried. He actually ended up getting, I think, a fourth place brisket, so he wasn't far off from us. But shout out to Kevin, Danielle, Chance, Aaron that was cooking next to us, Carl that was cooking next to us, Steven, all those guys. Just shout out to everybody that was at that event, and yeah, it was a blast.
Yeah, it was a great time, and it just makes us want to. I know we had mentioned, man, do we really want to go compete this weekend? And I told you, I think it's going to depend on how we do this weekend. That might change your mind if you're not feeling it. And of course, what do you know? We got the GC, and it does make you want to go back out there and see how you're going to do the next weekend. We're really, really excited to go cook a CBA. Penelope is just like, is there pork? Is there pork? When's there going to be pork? So she's really, really happy that we're about to go cook pork, as am I. And I told you that piece of little confetti flying off on the last one, that was good luck. So hopefully that luck stays, because we really want to do well in pork, especially coming off of that perfect score pork back in December.
Yeah. And I'm excited. I'm really excited to just be out there, cook the pork, get back into the swing of things, because Smoking on the Rio is a large event and CBA Champs is a large event. So we really need to be on top of our game. And, like I said, we're just going to go over there and do our best, and whatever happens, happens. So we did talk a long time about the event. It's already around 40 minutes into the podcast, but we mentioned earlier that I made a Facebook post that said, what's your worst Canopy story at a barbecue cook-off? And we had a lot. I'm talking a lot of responses, and shout out to you for this one. This was your idea to do because I got smacked across the face with our Canopy. You were like, there's no way other people don't have epic stories.
Oh, we've probably talked about it with people, every single time we go to a comp and there's bad weather. I mean, everybody's got a story and everybody's gone through multiple.
Yeah. And so I will say this. There's probably no way we go through all these because there is so many. But I'll tell you this much. I'm going to scroll to the bottom right now. And so Zach Smith said, I know which one yours is. And that's because he was in Refugio this past weekend. And he came by the tent and he saw the mark across my face. He's like, damn, you actually got hit? Stephen Cantu, rain in Refugio, which was this past weekend. Absolutely correct. Raymond Gomez had a brand new 10x20, just finished setting everything up. Out of nowhere, a strong gust came through, blew it over, and bent it all to hell. No way. That sucks, man. Not to mention, I had 4 buddies with me, and they just watched it. Oh, my gosh. And he said, I was like, thanks. You know what? LOL. Man, Raymond, that's horrible, dude. There's nothing. Oh, my gosh. I couldn't even imagine a brand new one just getting messed up. Britt Davis says, was cooking the first CVA championship in Eagle Pass, set up behind several large trailers and even tied off to them. Dropped my canopy down and went to the hotel. Wind hit like a freight train in the early morning. We got there and most everything was gone. Oh my gosh. What would you even do?
I mean,
I'd probably just go home and be like, let's just hook up the trailer and leave. Canopy was spinning in the air by one corner. Oh my gosh. I couldn't imagine seeing a canopy just spinning in the air. Frame was wrecked. Tables flipped over. Stuff everywhere. It was a total wreck, but I cooked it all and made all my turn-ins, dirt and all. Man, that's this one right here. This one right here from Aaron Leslie, Texas Oil Dust. Shout out to Aaron Leslie. Bought 2 new logoed out canopies from Dustin Stanley, who's the barbecue store, and We Brand It Promotions. Pulled it out, set it up. First CBA cook-off, $1,500 setup. Wind came through in the late evening while we were gone to the hotel, and everything was demolished across the field. Got there the next morning and found it tangled up. That was the start to a wonderful day. I don't know if the last part of that is him being facetious, but I would be so mad.
Yeah.
$1,500, it's a lot of money to get logoed, branded out, and for you to lose it. Man, I do want to know how that ended up for you. Did that day end up with a GC or something good? And that's just horrible. So moving on, Charlie Kings says, Anthony loses one every cook-off. And then Anthony replied, and he said, no lie, I'm down about 6 in a year. 2 at a cook-off in Seguin. Had to buy myself and my cook-off neighbor a new one that day. Luckily, I caught the Black Friday pricing. So we were talking about this. We've lost at least 5, right?
Yeah, that's it. I was telling Zach on Facebook earlier. I mean, I want to say it's at least 5 because we've had 2 that were, one flew over the side of the house this way. One flew up onto the roof. We've lost one at the beach.
That day, oh my gosh, I wish we could have just left it there, but I'm not into leaving trash everywhere. But I wanted to so bad. Gosh, that was a horrible day. So this one from Brandon Perryman. Shout out, Brandon. Hempstead, the barbecue store, Texas Barbecue Throwdown. Massive, nasty thunderstorms rolling through the morning of the cook-off. One canopy completely collapses under the weight of the rainwater, and I'm crouched under the broken canopy with water leaking on me. Oh, seasoning the meats. It was miserable. Wow. And then Sean Trainer responds, that was our second ever cook-off. I wanted to quit so bad. That exact weather follows me everywhere. Oh, gosh, that's got to be a tough time.
Yeah.
It's just the elements, and we were even saying it, we're like, dude, Mother Nature does not lose. She gets whatever she wants all day, every day.
I think everybody underestimates the wind of all things.
Oh, for sure. It's crazy. Britt Saha said, not having one and it's blistering. Oh, I could only imagine. That's got to be horrible.
I like this one by Jonathan Nardone. Hopefully I'm pronouncing your name right. It says, I've lost 12 canopies in 18 total events down here. The first few, it was a bummer. Now I just go into an event expecting to come home without one.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That is insane. That's a lot of canopies that you've lost. And the thing is, think about it like this. Even a cheap canopy, probably $100.
Right.
So that's $1,200. That's a lot of money.
And then even the expensive, pricier ones, there's still a huge risk that those are going to break as well.
I know. It's horrible. It's horrible. It's like, how can you really win? You know, we need a trailer with an awning or something like that. I think we could probably put an awning on ours, but I still don't think it would be big enough.
Yeah, I think even that has the potential to,
for sure.
bend.
But at least you can put the awning up.
Right.
You know what I mean? You just put it up. Dean Halfling was in Cook's meeting. Strong winds came and left Cook's meeting to find my canopy 3 spots down. Just barely missed destroying the team's canopy when it came down. Wow. That's the thing. The wind can take it up into the air and it can just hit something and really it can hurt somebody too. That's the scary part about it. And I think that's what I was worried about more than anything this past weekend, not losing the canopy. I mean, don't get me wrong. I do not want to have to pay for another one. I'm not trying to say we're rich and we can just get it like that, but man, I don't want to hurt anybody. Well, that's the part.
Yeah, and that's because the one side we had tied down, even that side started to lift up. I mean, it was crazy. And then you don't want, the kids are inside trying to sleep. You don't want that banging on them and then flying over and hitting somebody.
And then, even damaging our trailer and all that stuff, man. There's a lot that comes with it. Casey Sievers says, Castle Rock, Colorado just got meat injected and put away. Wind picked up and threw meat and canopy 15 feet in the air, over the table, and into another competitor's trailer, tipping meat over in the process.
Man.
Yeah, I would probably cry.
Like you said, that's like the one thing you don't want to happen is it going and, hitting somebody else or their stuff.
And then after I gathered my thoughts about packing it all up and going home, I stuck it out and walked in chicken. That's at least a light at the end of the tunnel, the silver lining of that day. All right, Brothers Q Barbecue Supply. Summer storm came out of nowhere and sent mine sailing directly between my trailer and the neighbor's brand new camper. Oh my gosh, no. I don't even want to read the rest of this one. Oh, did some cosmetic damage, but we got very lucky. Oh gosh, I'm thankful for you. Also lost one at Smoke on the Shores that March. 2023 was a bad year for canopies with Team Brothers Q. It's just crazy how many people have stories. Aaron Cruz has a picture here of a canopy that's completely messed up. His table is completely messed up. Man, that looks crazy. If you guys follow us on Facebook, go look at Aaron's picture. Nick Payne said it was August and I forgot the canopy. No shade. Texas summers don't mix. Yeah, somebody else said that a little bit ago. That's horrible.
Right. And I love James Ledbetter says, I'm not even sure which one to start with.
Yeah,
everybody's got so many.
Everybody's got something, man. And Les Perkins says, I was cooking the War Pig a couple of weeks ago. Wind got heavy overnight. I got up to get comp meats on and decided to take my canopies down to try and save them. That's almost when I feel like it gets the worst.
Oh,
when
yeah.
You're trying to
get it down.
Anyway, in the process, a big gust came, caught the one I was taking down, as it was lifting with the wind, it caught the handle of my rib pit. Oh my gosh, dude, there's no way. And it tipped over the barrel. It hit the ground. I had ribs on at the time. Needless to say, I was pretty upset with myself. I had to get the fire back in order and managed to salvage the ribs and was blessed enough to walk with 8 ribs. That's crazy.
That's like best case scenario.
That is
right there.
I have no idea how you did that, but Les, you are the best.
Stephen Oler says, watched a canopy at Chrome Heroes at Lost Lagoon land on a brand new Corvette from 20 feet high.
Oh my! What would you even do if that was our canopy? Our insurance would have to get involved in everything. We'd be probably paying a lot of money for that Corvette.
Yeah.
Shout out Steven, by the way. Yeah. Absolutely my favorite promoter of all time. And there's one reason because of that. Well, there's 2 reasons because of that. 1, he puts on a great cook-off. And 2, him and his wife, Jessica, actually went and got us Christmas tree cakes because I had posted on Facebook that I was looking for them. I couldn't find them. So shout out to Steven. Shout out to Jessica. Thank you for getting us those Christmas tree cakes back in December, which it's already February.
crazy.
That's insane.
And before you know, it's going to be March.
Yeah, and it's just insane. Okay. Randy Salinas, I lost 2 canopies first 3 hours into a 2-day cook-off at Tomball DFW. Gosh, that's horrible. That is horrible. Chase Douglas Willard says, when he starts it with man,
I know.
I'm thinking like, oh, this has got to be bad.
Yeah.
Man, Osage, it's got to be bad. Well, I mean, hopefully it's not, but man, Osage City, Kansas City was the worst. I was cooking under canopies, had 3 true 12x12s, and a zipper tied them together like always, and had cement buckets with ropes tied to the leg. Anyway, a small Kansas pop-up storm hit, and the wind was crazy. Everyone's stuff flying around, and I'm helping them, and then look over at mine, and they're lifted up, and the buckets are hovering 3 feet off the ground. See, that's where I'll be like, I'm just going to go home. I lost my spot. Okay. I run over and try to pull them back down. When I do, it caves them in, knocks over my camera and all of my already injected meat in there, and numerous broken lights. Oh my gosh. Needless to say, in the pouring rain, I packed up everything and headed to the house soaked and pissed off. I'm sorry to laugh, but that's probably what I would have just been like, screw this. Let's just go home. We might as well just lose the $200 entry fee and just go home. At least I can be happy tonight, sleep in my bed.
Right.
Something.
And it's like when you start seeing your canopy flying up into the air, it's almost like your instinct to go jump on it and grab it down. But if the wind is so strong that the cement buckets are even lifting up, it's like,
that's
what
crazy.
Are you gonna do?
That's
Especially
crazy.
me, I'm very small. Like what do I think I'm gonna do?
It's
Hold
just
it
wild.
down?
It is just wild.
Yeah.
It is just wild. Sebastian Busto says, Smoking Sounds 2022. It rained and rained on me and my son. My 8-year-old helped me set up, and it was crazy because my canopy's filled up with water on one side and was about to pull it down all over my table with my injections and rubs. I didn't think I was even going to get to cook, but the next day it was all sunny, and I took home a 6-place chicken. Like I said, at least you got the light at the end of the tunnel there for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Sean Trainer says, I don't even want to share my mishaps. Instead, I'm going to start a canopy company. Based off of the comments, you could probably make a lot of money, bro. That's for sure. I'm thinking 4 long PVC poles and a giant tarp, rain, sun protection that covers the entire spot. 30 by 30? Man, that'd be pretty good. That'd be pretty dang good. Yes, I currently need to buy a new one. Well, best of luck finding one that's that big, Sean.
Right.
Hector Cantu says, shout out Hector. He says, Refugio is all I have to say. 2 hours in the storm, holding the canopy, while the other dumbasses slept not knowing it even rained. Oh my gosh. Cooking 4 inches of water all day with ants. Oh, that's the worst. I got bit by ants too.
Oh, I was getting bit bad, and I was like, why am I getting bit by ants so bad?
Because of all the rain and stuff.
Right,
yeah.
right. Yeah, because
Won
once
a
it dried
first
up,
place brisket.
There
Nice,
you go.
Hector. There you go. Light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
And Joe Carrasco says, needing one while it was sleeting and not having the cover. We did have the frame, though. We had to improvise by using a tarp. Hey, that's a pretty good idea.
Yeah.
I mean, not the, prettiest or maybe not the best coverage, but man, that's still a pretty good idea. Andy Reyes says, tied my canopy to my pull-behind smoker and to a tree, then went home for the night. Later that night, a storm came through, and apparently water built up on the canopy. When I got to my spot, my canopy had flipped, oh no, causing my whole setup to fall over, even my camera that had all my prepped meats. See, that's the worst.
Right.
Oh, and my smoker had fallen back. It was, oh no way, it was back heavy. So it looked like it was going to launch into outer space. The jack was up in the air. Took 3 of us to pull it down. Gosh, that's
Jeez.
terrible. That's horrible. And Mo Lee Harden says, oh, I got several from this year. I think a lot of us do. Mosquito Fest put up a brand new heavy-duty 10x20 from Amazon, left to grab stuff at H-E-B. While I was gone for about an hour, a storm came through unexpectedly. When we arrived, I was like, something don't look right. That can't be my brand new canopy. And sure enough, my canopy was in a missionary position. Wow. Canopy leg straight up, exchanged it with Amazon, went to Needville for Denny's Memorial. This time made sure and stake it down good and weighed it down. After Brisket turned in, a strong system came through, and my neighbor's canopy got mangled even though it was staked down and weighted it down. And so did my new canopy. Only this time I couldn't take it back. Needless to say, I got canopy PTSD. I do remember in Needville that storm coming through. Remember when we were at awards and it just started pouring rain, so it was kind of crazy.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, we've also had issues with our canopy where we've, where was it? El Campo, where we had to stake it down, and then it wouldn't come out. The steak wouldn't come out.
Yeah, that was crazy. Actually, we had to use like a saw to try and get it out and everything. It was wild.
Yeah.
But man, there's so many here. I'm trying my best to go through and find ones that have some reactions to them, like people liked them. We can't go through them all. We're already almost at an hour or over an hour. But James Pavia says, at a cook-off in Beeville once, it rained so hard and the wind was so crazy, my canopy was lifted off the ground trying to fly away. I was literally standing in the rain trying to hold down my canopy. Sounds like us. All while my teammate in quotations, was asleep at the hotel. Oh, man. Yeah, that's horrible. That's horrible. Shout out, James. That's Aim 'em and Claim 'em or Texas Made Smokers if you guys know him.
And a lot of the times we have a conversation before we even put up our canopy is like, do we need this? What's the weather going to be like? We're always checking because we're like, man, is it worth putting this up? And sometimes we'll have it, tied down to the trailer on one side, tied down to the truck on the other side. But sometimes we can't always have our cars parked right next to our stuff, right? So it's definitely a conversation we all have to have with ourselves before we start putting up our canopy.
No doubt. So Cesar Mejia said that's easy. Smoking and toasting survived a crazy storm in Round Rock. We GC'd, which made it all worth it. I can't post the entirety of the video on social media, so let's see. Let's see if you guys can hear this.
We're dying here! Help!
I'm dying here, help! And he's just screaming. So I'll ask him, hey, can we put this clip on the podcast? Hopefully he's okay with it. But man, there's just so many more, and a lot of them are hilarious. And thank you guys so much for telling us all of your stories. We wish we could go through them all, but we're already kind of running out of time here on the podcast. Maybe we can talk about those next week, just the ones that we didn't talk about today. Hopefully there's a little bit more that come in tonight, and we can kind of talk about them. But
and everybody make sure to go look at the posts and read some of those. A lot of people have some pictures included. In,
some of them are
pictures
bad.
Are the best.
Yeah. They're the best, but they're the worst, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. But, anything else that you wanted to talk about on the podcast today?
No, I think basically just a recap of how our weekend went, and we are hoping that this weekend everything's good. We got to figure out the canopy situation or if we even need it. But
hopefully we don't need it.
Yeah.
But we're excited. We're going to go again to Mercedes, Texas. We're going to be able to stay with my uncle Saturday night. We're going to eat breakfast with Rini Sunday morning before we leave, and it's going to be great. So, yeah, we're really excited. We're going to see some good friends. We're going to see Uncle Bill. We're going to see Phil. We're going to see Kit Polk, which a lot of people have been talking about him a lot. If you've watched the Shiggin' Fried with Chicken Fried, if you haven't watched Shiggin' Fried with Chicken Fried, go watch that podcast. Bill does it every Tuesday at 8 p.m. It is hilarious. He's doing a great job with it. So make sure you go and watch that for sure. Mm-hmm. Anything else?
No, so we'll see you guys on next week's episode where we'll be getting ready to go to the CBA World Championships.
Yep. Yeah, okay, so that Friday when it comes out, obviously we're going to be driving that away, and then we'll also talk about the way we did in Smoking on the Rio this weekend. And, yeah, safe travels to everybody that's going to Smoking on the Rio. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm very Randy Rogers' band's going to be there, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so Saturday night they're playing.
Big thing, yeah.
Yeah, no, the Smoking on the Rio is apparently gigantic. So it's going to be a lot of people. Like I said, we hopefully have a good time. And don't forget, it's not about winning GC. It's just about going out there, having some fun, spending some quality time with the kiddos. And, yeah, we definitely want to win, but we understand we can't do it every single time. Consistency is key. Keep cooking, keep having fun, and that's all we could do. So we're going to go cook our butts off, try and replicate those ribs, that pork, the brisket, the chicken. Hopefully it all comes together. And if it doesn't, it's all right. We'll fight another day. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. If you did and you're watching us on YouTube, again, drop a comment down below. If you guys are listening on Spotify or Apple or any of the podcast platforms, leave a review. Let us know how you like it. Send us a message. Send Sabrina a message. Let us know what you want to see. Let us know what you don't want to see. All that good stuff. It really helps us round this show out and hopefully give you the best all things everything that we possibly can. We'll see you guys on the next episode. Peace.